Hi guys, Nada here, and today I'm going to talk about the third monitor AORUS has to offer. So this is a CV27F. It is a 27-inch Full HD monitor that has 165 Hz refresh rate. It has FreeSync 2 technology and it has HDR. This is a curved VA panel, but what is very interesting about this VA panel is that it has 1 millisecond response time, and that is not measured gray to gray, but actually MPRT, which means moving picture response time. And in theory, that should be a better way of measuring how fast a monitor is. Now, with this monitor should actually compete with some of the very fast TN panels, and in theory it should also have zero motion blur, which is very, very good for a VA panel. Now, all this comes with a very high price. So let's put it to the test, see how it actually performs, and see if it's worth the 370 euros or almost $400 it costs. Let's go. This video is brought to you by the Cooler Master Masterbox NR400, a quality micro ATX case that offers great performance and a sleek design at a very decent price. Get yours using the links in the description below. As we saw in their first two monitors, Gigabyte design aesthetic is quite sleek. It is definitely not as over the top as some other options, which I personally really appreciate. Yeah, of course there is a bit of RGB on the back, which looks really nice, but in reality, most people won't see it there anyways. More importantly is that the build quality of this monitor is really good. It has a full metal constructions for a base, which means that the monitor feels solid and doesn't wobble almost at all. Assuming that you have a decent desk, of course. Total depth is about 25 centimeters or just under 10 inches, which means it will comfortably fit most desks. Now the CV27F is height adjustable and you can tilt it and swivel it. You cannot flip it on the side, but that wouldn't make sense with a curved panel anyways. Other features are solid too. We see one display port and two HDMI ports in the back. There is a USB hub and there is also audio pass-through. Keep in mind that there are no speakers, but monitor speakers usually suck anyways. Now, like the previous models, this monitor also has active noise cancellation, which means that if you connect your microphone to the back of the monitor, there is a little microphone here under the logo, and it's supposed to cancel out the background noise you have. Now, it somewhat works, we tested it before, but it completely depends on what microphone you have and where you are. So it is a nice little feature, but not a reason to go for this monitor. If you want good quality sound, if you're streaming, there are some better options like buying a very good microphone instead. One feature that I really love is the OSD Psychic application. Now that's a software that lets you use your mouse to control all your monitor settings. Gigabyte's built-in OSD is decent and the joystick operation is fine, but the software really makes changing any setting a lot more comfortable. At 27-inch, this Full HD monitor has a pixel density of 82, which is pretty low, and it's not really good enough if you're going to do pretty much any kind of productivity. You're gonna miss the workspace and you're gonna miss that sharpness that a Quad HD monitor would have. So, first and foremost, this monitor is meant for gaming. I do want to say that from a gamer point of view, 1080p is not necessarily a bad thing. Even on a 27-inch, it offers a nice balance between immersion and not being too large where more competitive gaming becomes a problem. You can also easily drive a 1080p screen even with a more affordable GPU, like an RX 580 or an RX 5700, at high settings and frame rates, whereas for a fast Quad HD monitor, you would probably have to get a much more expensive GPU. Looking at the test results, it becomes clear that the CV27F is actually a great performer. Contrast is high even for a VA panel, maximum sustained brightness is solid and well over the HDR 400 requirement, it dims well enough, and perhaps more importantly for a VA panel, gray balance is very good as well. Color accuracy is very good too, with most colors being just slightly oversaturated. Considering the gaming target audience, that is not a bad thing as it makes images look just a bit more intense. The gamma result is decent, and I can say the same for the white point, which is only a tad on the yellow side. Usually I test the monitor in the factory default as well as the sRGB mode, but nowadays the sRGB mode more often than not just doesn't add anything. For the CV27F, however, the sRGB mode is pretty much spot on for content creation, showing excellent color as well as gray balance. Uniformity is something VA panels usually struggle with. However, we see a very decent score here. Even for a TN or an IPS panel, we would call this very good. Viewing angles are good too, there is no issues, and although we see a tiny bit of backlight bleed on a fully black screen in a dark room, it doesn't get close to being an issue. But how is it to actually game on? And I would say it's a pretty good experience. The image quality is quite good if you don't mind the pixel density. The colors are very lively, the contrast really helps the experience, and it's a pretty fast monitor. Now, what is really cool is that it has almost zero motion blur, so that's great for a VA panel. It means that you get all the advantages of a VA panel without its main weakness. Now, keep in mind it is not quite as fast as similarly spec TN panel, the ROG VG278QR, which is a tiny bit faster, for example, but it's just ahead of their VA panel XG32VQR. But the differences are very, very small and you're not really going to notice them. This screen is very fast. As for the HDR experience, as I've said before, HDR on current generation LED monitors is far from perfect. This particular model does offer the great range in colors as well as a decent brightness, but without local dimming and truly high brightness peaks, it just doesn't feel like what HDR is meant to be. It is a nice bonus and I think it's worth experimenting with. Like some games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for example, look much better with it on, in my experience, but you shouldn't get this monitor just because it says HDR on the box. For those of you with an NVIDIA graphics card, it's worth pointing out that I had no issues so far using this FreeSync monitor in G-Sync compatible mode with an RTX 2070 Super, even with HDR on. G-Sync compatibility is complex and it's possible there are games that might cause issues, but from my testing so far, I haven't seen a single problem. So overall, this monitor performs really well. I would say it's one of the best 27-inch Full HD monitors you can currently get. Of course, Full HD is not for everyone, but it's completely fine if you're just into gaming, recording, and streaming, and you don't need a more expensive graphics card you would need for a Quad HD screen. But the main problem of this screen is its price. It costs 370 euros or $400, and that is just impossible to justify. If you're on a budget, you can get a fast Full HD screen for half the price, and if you're on a budget, you don't care about excellent build quality and you don't care about the perfect calibration out of the box, you just care about your budget. And if you already have a high-end GPU, you can actually get a fast 27-inch Quad HD monitor for less. So, if you have your eyes set on this monitor, I can tell you right away, it's great, it performs really well, but the price really needs to go down by a lot for me to objectively recommend it to people. Now, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this monitor and about this review. Don't forget to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and yeah, see you in the next one. Bye!